Warren Hernandez, known online as Big Scrumbo, is on the surface a relatively small-scale game developer, a recent graduate and creator of experimental interactive experiences, but as with many figures operating just beneath the cultural threshold, the absence of attention is not the same as the absence of impact. Because over the past several years, Warren has quietly built a body of work and a pattern of behavior that raises a number of difficult questions. I am here to follow the evidence, to examine the pattern, and to determine whether Big Scrumbo is simply an amateur creator finding his footing or something else entirely. Because by the end of this video, you may find yourself asking the same question I did. Is this incompetence or is it intent? Greetings and salutations, beautiful people of the interwebs. I am the Centrist Lynx, and today I have a tale to weave for you. A tale of lies, deceit, and perhaps most damning of all, vibes. So sheathe your swords and grab your mead, because today we're discussing the dark side of Big Scrumbo. Babies. Universally agreed upon as the most innocent among us, harmless, unburdened by ideology, until they're not. Our story begins in 2002 in the quiet suburbs of Chicago. A child is born before he was known as Scrumbo. He was simply known as Warren Hernandez. Now at first glance, nothing remarkable, a standard issue crotch goblin, but as any seasoned investigator knows, it's the early signs that matter, and unfortunately, there were signs. Yes, you're seeing this correctly. This child dressed as a police officer. Now, I'm not here to make any accusations, but when people say a few bad apples spoil the bunch, one has to wonder, how early does the rot set in? And it doesn't stop there. In this image, we see a young Warren Hernandez engaging in what can only be described as performative cultural participation. Now again, I'm not here to condemn, I'm here to analyze. But when you begin your life oscillating between positions of authority and exaggerated identity, it raises concerns about a pattern we will see again. Much of what we know about Big Scrumbo comes from his digital footprint, specifically his YouTube channel, where he uploaded a series of school projects that offer a rare glimpse into his developing worldview. One video in particular stands out. Uploaded in 2016, this project features Warren encouraging viewers to donate food to the army, framing it as cool and patriotic. Now, my thoughts on the US military are, to put it lightly, complicated. On one hand, it has a long and storied history of inserting itself into situations it perhaps shouldn't have. The budget is astronomical, the accountability, questionable. On the other hand, I do think people should be allowed to kill a couple of individuals they don't like. So, as you can see, I approach this topic with the nuance it deserves. But what concerns me here isn't the message itself, it's the presentation, the normalization, the gamification of patriotism, the subtle implication that morality can be incentivized. This young man is pushing dangerous ideals to his peers. It should also be noted that Warren is seen wearing a hat of the character Teemo from the popular game League of Legends. Stats from this time suggest that Warren was a semi-frequent player of the game, and almost exclusively played Teemo. It's a known fact that Teemo players are 4 times as likely to be racist, and also a pedophile. A chilling thought indeed. And if you think that's where it ends, gods, I wish it were. After high school, Warren pursued higher education at Columbia College Chicago, studying game design and development, graduating in 2024. A creative path, but a dangerous path in the wrong hands. Shortly before graduating, he became involved with Indie City Games, a Chicago-based collective that hosts events for developers across the Chicagoland area. and as it turns out, a launching point, because it is here that Warren released his first non-traditional project, a game, if you can call it that, titled I'm In. Gods. Let's just proceed. In this so-called game, the player is tasked with furiously mashing their keyboard in order to replenish something called hacker energy, which for reasons never adequately justified is constantly depleting. As the player struggles to maintain this energy, various mini-games appear. Interruptions, really, designed to impede progress. The objective? Hacking, until you inevitably fail. Is this truly what he believes hacking is? A frantic symphony of keyboard mashing? A war of attrition against pop-up ads? I have spoken to hackers. I know hackers, and I can assure you, they are at least slightly more ostentatious than this. But let us for a moment set aside the deeply troubling implications of this portrayal. Let us instead examine the game on its own merits. It is repetitive, it is shallow, it is, dare I say, aggressively unfunny. And yet, according to its own listing, this game was submitted to a competition, one with a cash prize. Now naturally, I assumed this was a harmless participation trophy situation, a good effort, everyone's a winner type of affair, but then I saw the results. Second place? Second place? Second place? Good gods! This thing outranked an entire field of competing games, projects crafted with care, with intention, with, dare I say, effort? An affront, a categorical affront to every developer who placed below it, and the rabbit hole deepens. As part of its placement, the game was featured in a zine published by Indie City Games, highlighting standout entries from the event. The first place winner received an interview. The third place winner received an interview. And Warren? Nothing. No interview, no developer insight, no explanation. Curious, because if this were a legitimate victory, one would assume there would be something to say. Which raises the question, why the silence? Was it modesty, or was it strategy? Now, I am not here to make accusations. I am here to observe patterns, and what I observe is this. Placing first would draw too much attention, too much scrutiny, but second is perfect. High enough to reap the rewards, low enough to avoid the spotlight. A calculated position, a controlled outcome, which leads me to a deeply unsettling possibility. Was this placement engineered? A whispered agreement? A well-timed incentive? We may never know. But one thing is certain, anyone willing to settle for second place is someone playing a much, much longer game. And that is far more dangerous. But Mr. Lynx, this was all some time ago. Certainly things have changed, I hear you posit, but the worst has yet to come. We know his behavior has changed little in the time between these various projects and now. See this video from the end of January 2025, in which Warren is seen with a large weapon, screaming at a crowd. Various onlookers have taken video evidence of this outburst. His frantic yelling leaves him red in the face, and one man is brought to tears in fear. I watch these videos without sound because I can't stand to hear another second of this man's voice. But one can only imagine the atrocities he spouted to the crowd. You know, it truly pains me to make this video. Warren is, or should I say was, someone I considered a friend, someone I genuinely admired. But all that changed the day he cold-heartedly crushed my dreams in front of me. As many of you know, I've been working on and off for the better part of a decade on my own game, Realm of the Crimson Oaths, Ashes of the Fifth Dawn. This is a labor of love that I have spent countless hours pouring my blood, sweat, and tears into. I met Mr. Hernandez through a mutual friend and we hit it off almost instantly. We bonded over our shared interest in game development. I told him about my project and he seemed intrigued. I offered to send him the demo I had been working on and he agreed to check it out ASAP. This is the first of many lies. I send Warren the demo at approximately midnight that night, and he responds shortly after saying that he'd now check out the project soon. Curious. Then I proceeded to wait 24 hours. You heard that right. 24 hours for a response. Even after repeated bumps and reminders, I still had to wait one whole day. And what do I come back to hours later? This. An insurmountable wall of criticism. My world, my creations, and my lifeblood turned into a list of actionable items. He claims my characters are flat and poorly written and communicated. My writing is wordy and confusing. My design lacking in clarity. These are not suggestions. They are value judgments. He has the gall to say he's excited to see where things go, as if I haven't spent years getting to where we are today. He goes on to say that he got lost in the first area but figured it out. Allow me to translate here. I overcame despite you. It all paints a picture of Warren's true colors, his true heart. I trusted Scrumbo. I trusted Warren. I invited him into something deeply personal. I wore my heart on my sleeve and all I received is disrespect. Respect is what all feedback is about at its core. How can one be a game designer active in the community when you can't engage with a fellow designer's work in good faith? When you look at the totality of the evidence, the early signs, the projects, the so-called games, and now this, a clear picture begins to form, not of a creator, not a collaborator, but of someone who seeks to reshape the work of others, to insert themselves into the process, to beat down, to correct, to refine, to control. And to this, I put my foot down. I refuse to let my life's work be sullied by a young man who mains Abrams. And to Warren, if you're watching this and somehow got this far, no, I will not be adding an immersion-breaking sparkle to my game world. Maybe if you wander around looking for it some more, maybe you'll actually read the dialogue this time. Just a thought. Well, that was certainly cathartic. This has been the Centrist Links. Thank you for watching. And remember, every coin has two sides. Thank you for watching.